Good morning. We are going to go ahead and get started with your data meeting for second grade honors math. I'm going to start with just thanking you for taking the time and being patient while I got everything worked out with the camera. But I'm going to start with just giving you some congratulations on several things that I noticed that were taking place. There are, for NS2, there are no students who need remediation. And so out of the 3 objectives that you tested, there was no one in the red on that standard. And so that is really important to know and point out as a celebration, because that tells me that they've got some foundation. So to what do you attribute that success?
Well, the kids, I think multiplication and division comes easier for them versus when you're looking at subtraction and addition of rational numbers, they struggle a little bit with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what we're going to start with first is going into the standards themselves. And where I'd like to start is, let's look at NS2, which they were very successful on, or pretty successful on, and the differences between NS2 and NS3. And I think what I'm hearing you say is the main thing is that the addition and subtraction are in NS3, is that right?
NS3 is a combination of everything.
Yes.
And making sure that you follow the order of operations with rational numbers, doing the parts, you know, when you do PEMDAS.
Okay, so let's jump on those standards and just see like what.
So NS1 is addition and subtraction.
Okay. So what I want you to do is just put your eyes on NS2, review that real quickly, and then NS3, and just with surety, what are the differences in what the kid has to do?
Show you the difference? Okay, so with NS3, it's multiple steps within the actual problems when they are doing NS3. It's a combination of actual operations with adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing rational numbers. But when you go to NS2, it's either you're doing division or you're doing multiplication. So it's not like they have a combination. You just have to know when you set up the word problem, which one is your numerator, which one is your denominator for the division. And then multiplication, it doesn't matter the order in which you multiply.
Yes, absolutely. So if there happen to be no students in remediation on NS2, but we've got more students, obviously there are more questions on NS3 as well, but we've got more students in remediation on NS3, based on just your understanding of the standards, what might the problem be with what they're doing?
The problem, well, it could be that they're just making careless errors on where they start first based on some of the symbols that they use, and on some of the verbiage, like where do you start to actually try to put it together. Like when I was looking at questions, can we look at the assessment while we talking about it so I can, question 26.
Okay.
So just looking at question 26, even the first time that I worked it out, I was like, oh, I got the wrong answer.
I did too. I totally did too. And I'm like, wait a minute.
So I was like, this ain't right. So I can see where they would have made a careless mistake on it, like, because you got multiple steps, and it's almost like they're looking at just that one cashier getting paid, not the total, the difference between all the cashiers getting paid. So they had to go in, you had to multiply the original, the 825 times the 21, but you then had to multiply it by the 16 to figure out what the total was for that. Then come back over here, now I need to subtract 25 cents from that, we'll add 25 cents to it. Then I need to add an additional 2 cashiers. I'm multiplying more, and then I got to come back and subtract at the end.
Right.
So I think a lot of it could have just been organization of the problem, like trying to figure out which parts to do first. Like for me, when I originally did it, I only did it based on 1 cashier, and then I subtracted. I said, oh, that's wrong, because the answer choice isn't even there. So at that point, I feel like once they didn't see that first answer choice, I'm being honest, and made my no. I mean, and instead of trying to work through it to figure out, oh, they're talking about all cashiers, because in the last sentence, it has cashiers, plural. So I don't even know if they caught that part, that comprehension part of the problem.
I did notice on question 26, well, there were 39 students who got that question correct. However, there was not a distractor, so there wasn't one answer choice that they chose more than others, meaning that it's more likely a place where they guessed than not.
Yeah.
So let's look at your student work.
Okay.
So you brought a hot sample, let's look at that one together first and see what that student did on number 26, and we'll just stay with 26. I was gonna go with 20, but let's stay with 26. So let's look at what this student's work looks like. What was his solution strategy? Let's talk through it.
Okay. So he took the 825 and he multiplied by the original 21 hours. So I can clearly see he did that to get the total cost of the 173. And then he went on and found the difference between, well, added the 25 cents to the 825 to get the 850, and then he subtracted the hours from it to get the total of 165. And then he subtracted those two to see what the difference was. And somehow I'm trying to figure out where did he go back to get the right answer. Where he multiplied by the 18 cashiers because they added 2 additional cashiers to get that part to figure out the answer.
Okay. So one of the things I'm even noticing on his paper is it's hard for us to even see the sequence of what he's doing. Let's look at one of your low samples. We'll skip the median. So we'll look at number 26. What's the difference in their work and his? So her strategy was started off the same. We're doing 825 by 21.
That looks like, I don't know what that was.
850.
No, right in the bottom.
That looks like 150, 160.
She was multiplying on that bottom.
And then she did what? 85 times 15?
So it looks like, I don't know, like she messed up on her addition of the amount of cashiers, 16 minus 2 and got 15 when it should have been, I don't know, she minus instead of, I don't know what that 15 is.
Mr. Control.
21, she took minus 150, so she did that part. She knew to take away the hours. I'm not sure where that 15 came from.
Let's look at your other low sample. Okay.
She never shows where she started. I don't see why she got these 2 numbers.
I don't either. Okay. All right.
173.25 was right, so, and it was calculated inactive, and 165.75 was right.
Okay. So my question is, what is the difference in Hayden's work and the work of these 2 young ladies?
Just looking, Hayden knew it was multiple steps. Like, you can see that he has to process, like, there's more than 1 step to complete this. More than 2, more than 3.
Yeah.
And then he knew to come back and subtract the 2 to figure out. But even right here, like, even when I did it, I didn't do it this way. So when I did it, I went on and multiplied it by 16, and then I went over here and multiplied that by 16, and then I took the difference. He found the difference with the lower amount and then multiplied it by the amount, which was still fine. So, but looking at the other kids, it's like, maybe we need to work on how they break down the problems better. Because if they organize it like I told them to, then they probably would have got through with it.
So let's look at the standards. So what I'd like us to do right now is to go ahead and complete a no-do for NS3.
Okay.
What do the students have to know and be able to show for NS3? So I'll work on one while you work on one.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about what you have on your no side, and then I'll tell you if I have anything that's written that's different.
Okay. I have order of operations. They gotta know how to add, subtract, multiply, divide, rational numbers. They gotta know all those. They gotta know what to do when they see grouping symbols. They also, when they have a fraction that has operations in it, they gotta know to work the numerator first.
Okay. So when you said you see fractions that have multiple numbers in a numerator? Do you
So,
know how to?
So if they have an operation in the fraction,
numerator?
in the numerator,
Mhm.
in the denominator, they have to work the numerator first.
Okay, and I think I just wrote that as complex fractions. Would that satisfy? They need to know more than that.
Yeah, because if they got, like, let's say they got 4 plus 5 over 7, you still gotta work that 4 plus 5. It
Right.
won't always be a division problem on top of division.
On the note side, I also included multi-step problem solving strategies.
Okay.
And I'll get that to more specific, I think, on the show side. What do you have on your show side?
Well, on that show side, I put solve multi-step problems with rational numbers. I probably should have put more than that. So it's just what we have to be able to see, right, on that show side. So we gotta be able to see that they can add, subtract, multiply, and divide with those negatives and positive numbers.
I think they need to also possibly show that they have a checking strategy.
Okay.
So how do they go back into the problem? You mentioned breaking the problem down earlier. How do they go back into the problem to verify that they're thinking their process is correct? And with a question like number 26, with so many layers of it, it may or may not, you tell me, may be important that they have they either work linear the whole problem, so that it starts from the top and goes down so that they can kind of check the pieces to the problem. But we'll work through what that should look like, or what you'd like for it to look like in your class.
Okay.
So as we mentioned, one of the main things that is different about NS3 than NS2 is just the fact that it's multi-steps now. And so now there's more for me to keep up with within the problem. So let's talk about what you believe the next step is in helping students be able to solve questions like number 26.
So I think my next step, I like the fact that when you said make sure that they're working linear with the problems. And a lot of kids struggle just with this concept because it's not calculated active. Like you have to know you got to know how to multiply, how to divide, how to add and subtract. You got to also remember the rules of negatives and positives. So I feel like the first thing is looking at even how Hayden broke, even though it was good, like how he did it, like what is your process to where I can actually see the process through, not having to search for it. So it's almost like I need to go back over IPS with them in my class, because that is our strategy for breaking down word problems.
Okay.
And then kind of focus on, let me be able to see it linear, not where you just all over the place with the problem, like organization with the actual problems too. Because I feel like if the organization was there with the problems, then they wouldn't have missed so many steps with it.
I agree, because looking at even the ladies who missed the problem, their multiplication was accurate. It's what they did with the solutions that didn't add up to the right answer. So I totally agree with that. And what I'd like to know, based on what you just said, is if they get better or become masters at IPS, how will that help them to know they have the right answer?
That's a good question. Because multiple choice.
So IPS this problem real quick.
Okay.
26.
So you want me IPS?
Yeah,
Okay.
just do the IPS. Don't do the solution. Just do the IPS.
Okay. So go back to the assessment. Alright. So for me, when I go for my information, I'm gonna initially put the 16 cashiers, because I'm gonna go by sentence, and then I'm gonna do the 21 hours per week, and then $8.25 per hour, and hires additional two cashiers. Pay 25 cents more, 25 cents more. They're gonna lose 1.5 hours a week. And then I'm gonna write the question, what is the change? What is the total change? Change in the amount of cashiers are paid.
Okay. So what will they do in the P?
So in my P, what type of picture they want, but I would go ahead and make my connection to, I started with 16 cashiers. Some may draw a picture, with 16 people. I probably would just do the 16 cashiers. And now I'm knowing that the 16 cashiers, I'm gonna go ahead and put 16 cashiers here and then add 2 to it. So 2 cashiers, so I know what's there. And then I'm gonna put my little bucks. 8.25. Then draw me a little arrow, put out me a nice little raise of 25 cents. And now we go out to 9.50. And then my hours, I probably do a pop. So now I started with 21. And then I'm going down. Going down 1.5. And now that's going to give me that 18.5. Yeah, 18.5. That's my pick for myself, so I know.
Okay. So if they IPS this question,
Mm-hmm.
what would be available to them in the IPS to help them understand that their solution is accurate?
So now they can go back and kind of like check to make sure, did I add 2 cashiers like I was supposed to in my solution? Did I add to my actual original amount that I was actually making? And then did I subtract those hours? And then I can go across to see if I actually did the original as well. Like, did I do the original, even if you go straight across, based on my actual picture?
Okay. All right, good. So let's punch it real quickly. What do you think the next step is with helping them to understand how to better master NS3?
I think when we're dealing with the word problems, if they're doing it with the I, like how I went through each sentence to pull the important pieces of information, and then I made the connection with the actual picture itself. So when I come over to the solution, I need to go back to either my picture or my eye to make sure that I'm hitting I've touched everything, every important piece of information that I put over here in my eye. Because like these girls, they didn't hit everything, they hit parts of it.
Right.
So you gotta still go back, and when I'm getting ready to check my solution, did I do this part within my solution? Did I cover it? Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes total sense. So my question is, would this be a guided discourse reteach lesson, or would this be a model?
Model.
Yes,
So
tell me
they'll
why.
see. It's gonna be a model because I need them to see my thought processing with me thinking out loud, like all pencils down. You're watching me. I'm walking through the problem, but I'm thinking my thought process out loud on why I'm doing this concept.
Yes, absolutely. So you've already done your IPS, the one that you would use with them. So let's practice it real quick.
Okay.
So you are the teacher, and I'm the student. Just start with, give me a little bit of background, like frame, why are we doing this, and then you can go.
Okay, so after looking at CFA data, it appears that we are still struggling a little bit with NS3. So there was a question that a lot of us got wrong only because of the way that we organized the problem. So we're just gonna walk through. I want you just to pay attention to me as I'm walking through the actual problem and how I would break the problem down.
Okay.
So take 30 seconds just to read the problem. Okay, so for me, I'm looking at the sentences. Each of 16 cashiers worked an average of 21 hours per week and is paid $8.25 per hour. So what's important to me? 16 cashiers, 21 hours per week, $8.25 per hour. Now look at the next sentence. After the store manager has hired 2 additional cashiers, that might be important. So I'm gonna go ahead and put hires 2 additional cashiers. Each cashier will be paid 25 cents more per hour. So I'm gonna put paid 25 cents more per hour. They will work, I'm losing hours as well. Okay, so I'm losing 1.5 hours, that's important. And remember, for myself, the question is always important because I need to know what I'm trying to do in my P and my S. Okay, so I got 16 cashiers, so I'm gonna draw me a little circle that looks like a little big head. And then they told me I'm adding 2 cashiers to the bottom, so I'm gonna go ahead and add the 2 cashiers. Then I'm gonna put my 18. Now I'm coming over here to the money because your money is always important, remember, when we are talking about work. So I'm adding that, taking the $8.25, and I'm gonna add my 25 cents, and then I'm gonna put what it equals. Then remember, I lost hours, so I started at 21, now they're taking away 1.5, and now I have my 18.5. Now I need to go over here and do my actual solution. So I know I started with 16
Okay,
cashiers.
stop, because we've already done the problem.
Okay,
So, when you get done modeling the IPS, what do you want them to do or walk away with?
so I want them to actually write down what I did as well, and then I'll have another practice problem for them.
Okay,
That's similar to it, so I can see what they will do on their own. And I may go ahead and give them, like steps, okay, you writing out your I, and then let me walk around and circulate for that. Then I'm seeing your P to see what connections you're making to the picture. And if I'm walking for your P, I need to be able to see that that P makes a connection to the I. It just can't be a random picture that you're just trying to throw on your paper.
well, that might be another problem to get them involved in,
Okay.
as your standard for whether or not they've understood what you taught them that day.
Okay.
So when will you do this?
I could do it today. I can do it today before our actual lesson. Not today, then I can do it as a rewind tomorrow.
Okay.
So, it'll just be like a quick rewind before
Okay.
we go into sales tax and tips.
Okay, so I will, today, 5th block or 5th and 6th?
It might be 5th and 6th, maybe I need to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me do it tomorrow. 5th and
Okay.
6th tomorrow.
And I will try to, I've got something going on 5th block it's at the end, so I can make it 5th block and 6th block tomorrow at the very beginning.
Okay.
So I'll come in there and just check and make sure. So the point in us making sure that they understand these steps and are aware of every piece of the problem is so that they are able to double check their work
Okay.
for reasonableness. Does this even make sense? So I'm gonna set my calendar for tomorrow real quick if you give me a second.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well, I would like to thank you for taking some time to meet with me, and again, for your patience.